In 1932, the Australian government declared war on birds, not metaphorically, not as a joke, an actual military operation with actual soldiers, actual machine guns, and an actual commanding officer who filed actual reports back to the government about how the campaign was going. The enemy was the EMU, and the emus won. This is not a story anyone tells you in school, but it happened. And the reason it happened reveals something deeply uncomfortable about who actually runs this planet. After World War I, Australian veterans were given land in Western Australia to farm. They planted wheat, they built lives, and then, every year, somewhere between 20,000 and 50,000 emus showed up and ate everything. Emus are not small. They stand nearly 2 meters tall. They cannot fly, but they can run at 50 kilometers per hour. They have powerful legs capable of tearing through fences like paper, and they travel in enormous herds that darken the horizon when they move. The farmers had no way to stop them, so they asked the government for help. The government sent Major G.P.W. Meredith of the Royal Australian Artillery. He arrived with 2 soldiers, 2 Lewis guns, and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. The plan was simple. Find the emus, shoot the emus, go home. It did not go that way. The first problem was the emus themselves. When Meredith's team opened fire, the birds did not panic and cluster together the way soldiers expected. They scattered, instantly, in every direction at once, each one running a different way, making them nearly impossible to target. A machine gun designed to cut down rows of soldiers was almost useless against a bird that simply ran sideways. Ornithologist Dominic Serventy, who studied Australian wildlife for decades, noted something remarkable about emus that explained exactly what happened next. Emus appear to operate almost like a military unit. If a group is attacked, they split and regroup. They do not flee as one. They disperse and reassemble somewhere else. There is no single point of failure. You cannot break the flock because the flock has no center. Major Meredith later told a journalist that each emu seemed to have a separate plan. He described trying to stop them as trying to fight a battle where every enemy soldier had already been given a different escape route before the shooting started. The second problem was that the emus were extraordinarily difficult to kill. Their feathers and body fat absorbed bullets in a way that shocked the soldiers. Meredith reported that even birds hit multiple times continued running. A single emu took an average of several rounds to bring down. With 10,000 bullets and nearly 20,000 emus, the math was already losing. Within a week, the operation was a disaster. The guns jammed constantly in the dusty outback conditions. The emus had largely moved on from the initial area. The military had killed perhaps 250 birds. The rest had simply left, eaten, and gone elsewhere. The Australian Parliament debated the operation. Opposition members mocked it openly. One member suggested that if medals were to be awarded for this campaign, they should go to the emus. The British media picked up the story and called it an embarrassment. Major Meredith requested permission to continue. The government eventually withdrew the soldiers. The emus continued eating the wheat. A second operation was attempted later that year, then a third the following year. Each time, the emus adapted. Each time, the results were the same. By 1948, the Australian government had quietly accepted that the emus could not be militarily defeated and began funding fencing programs instead. The emus did not know they had won a war. They were just being emus, following food, scattering when threatened, reassembling somewhere else. The behavior that made them impossible to defeat in 1932 is the same behavior their ancestors used to survive predators for millions of years before any human showed up with a machine gun. And that is the part worth sitting with. The most advanced military technology of the 1930s, operated by trained soldiers, was defeated by birds with no plan, no weapons, and no awareness that they were in a conflict at all. They won not because they were smarter, but because they were older. Their instincts had been tested against threats for so much longer than any human strategy had existed that the strategy simply had no answer for them. Next time you watch a bird walk across your path without flinching, remember that somewhere in Australia, its relatives defeated the army, and they did it without trying.